How's it going, everyone? So, a few days ago, I asked my Instagram followers which of two videos I should make this weekend. One of them was my top 10 favorite movies of 2019 or my top 20 favorite movies of all time. And if you looked at the title of this video, well, you know which one won. Now, when I was going through which movies I was going to include on this list, it was very hard to choose only 20. So, I've decided to make it a little easier on me, but not make this a very long list. And I've decided to include my top 25 favorite movies of all time because if the NCAA can choose 25 football teams to include on their list, why can't I include 25 movies on my list? A few requirements for this list. First of all, I am not going to be including any animated movies or any pure comedy movies because in the future, I want to make another top list of my favorite animated movies and my favorite comedy movies. Those types of movies will not be on this list, but any other type of movie will get a shot here. And without any further ado, let's get started. So for number 25, I have chosen Inception as my 25th spot. Now, this movie makes you think so much. It is a mind bender, as most people who have seen the movie know that, but I think that's what makes it very intriguing, is that this movie makes you think about the reality of going inside people's dreams. And the effects in this movie to this day are still incredible. I mean, this movie came out 10 years ago, believe it or not, and the visual effects that were brought to life through the cinematography and the visual effects supervisors, it's incredible. It's just mind-blowing to think that they were able to do all these effects 10 years ago and they still look as good today as they did back then. With a great cast and with a great director like Christopher Nolan, Inception is definitely a movie that you will definitely not forget. So for number 24, I have chosen Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I know it's kind of a weird movie to put on here, but the one thing that this movie does for me is the music. It is, in my opinion, the best soundtrack to ever go to a movie. And it's really weird. Like, you wouldn't think that 70s and 80s rock music would fit into a space movie, but somehow James Gunn made it work. And of course, the comedy is hilarious in this movie. Definitely one of the funniest comic book movies ever made. And it's a great story. It's got great characters from Star Lord to Gamora to Drax to Rocket and to Groot. I mean, if you were to ask me like 10 years ago, if, hey, Porter, is a movie about a talking raccoon and a talking tree going to become one of your favorite movies? I would have been like, you're crazy. Like, why would I think that? But Marvel was apparently able to do that for me. And it's a movie that is just a ton of fun to watch. It's got great music, it's got a great cast, and I just love every single minute of it. So for my number 23, I have chosen The Sandlot. Now, in my opinion, The Sandlot is one of the best coming of age movies ever made. I love the chemistry that these nine boys have in the movies. They've chosen really good young actors at this time, and it's a sport that I love. I love baseball, and this is my favorite baseball movie. Just the camaraderie that this cast has in this movie is really fun to watch. Like the way that they argue, the way that they make jokes, like the plan that they have to retrieve the baseball from over the fence. It's great. It's a movie that I quote a lot. It's a movie that a lot of my friends growing up have quoted a lot. It's just a really great kids movie, a really great coming of age movie, and it's just a ton of fun. And I wish I wish there were more movies out there like this because a lot of movies I know that center around kids aren't usually the best, but somehow The Sandlot was able to really make something special out of it. So, yep, that's my 23 spot right there. Now, for my number 22 spot, I have chosen The Departed, directed by Martin Scorsese. Now, this movie, in my opinion, is brilliant. One of the best scripts I have ever seen in a movie. Just about these two totally different people who are spies, two different organizations, and they happen to be spies spying on the other's organization. It's just a brilliant concept, and Leonardo DiCaprio and Matt Damon bring their A game in this movie. It's just the chemistry that all of the actors have in this movie, from Mark Wahlberg to Alec Baldwin to Jack Nicholson. Holy crap, Jack Nicholson is scary good in this movie, to be honest. It's probably one of the best casting choices I've ever seen in a movie, and definitely one of the best mob movies out there. Just about the police trying to take down this mob. It's a great story. It's a great movie. It's got great moments in it, very quotable moments in it, and it's just another great movie from the legendary director Martin Scorsese. So for my number 21, I have chosen Mad Max Fury Road. And this movie is a trip. Holy crap. The term of having an adrenaline rush or to have a movie, it would be this movie. This movie just starts off with the action just like that at the very beginning. It's just nonstop action, nonstop chase. And I know for a lot of people that wouldn't be enough for a movie to have like emotional weight, but they've chosen great actors from Charlize Theron to Tom Hardy to play these characters that have really good chemistry that they kick butt. I'll just leave it at that. They kick butt in this movie, and just it's just a great chase. You just feel this excitement watching the whole thing, and some of the best practical effects I've ever seen in a movie. So Mad Max Fury Road is an easy spot for me on this list. One of the best action movies ever made, probably the best action movie made in the 2010 decade. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend that you go check that out. So for number 20, I have Rocky. Yep, another sports movie here. Now, Rocky itself, the making of Rocky is already very very interesting. You got Sylvester Stallone, who was a nobody at the time that wanted to make this movie, had a very low budget in making this movie, and so many people thought like this movie was going to fail. But Sylvester Stallone proved them wrong. It was a big hit at the box office. It won Best Picture at the Oscars the year it came out. And it's really funny because the way this movie was made is just like the movie itself. Just this average guy, Rocky Balboa, who's really a nobody, and he has a chance to become a somebody in the boxing arena. It's just a great character study of this one person who is very likable, has very likable attributes about him, and you're just cheering for Rocky throughout this whole movie. You just get this great feeling when the movie ends that something great was accomplished. So Rocky is definitely a movie for me. So for number 19, I have The Pursuit of Happiness. Now, this is one of the most heartwarming movies I have ever seen. Definitely Will Smith's best performance, in my opinion. Just about this father. He's just struggling financially. His wife ends up leaving him with his son, and it's just about him and his son trying to just live with very little money, like no money at all, because he applies for a job. He's doing an internship in the movie, which he's not getting paid for. So him and his son are pretty much living in poverty throughout the whole movie, and it's just very hard to watch in some scenes. And Will Smith gives a great performance, and I won't spoil anything in the movie, but you'll just get a great overall heartwarming feeling when watching this movie. It'll make anyone feel happy about their life and where they are right now. So Pursuit of Happiness is definitely a great movie to check out. So for number 18, I have Gran Torino, directed by Clint Eastwood and starring Clint Eastwood. This is not only one of my favorite Clint Eastwood movies, but just the way that he tells this simple story about an old man who's a war veteran who lives in this neighborhood just full of gangs and just terrible things happening, and how he uncoincidentally becomes a hero in the making. And it doesn't sound like much, but the way that Clint Eastwood portrays his character, all the other actors are great. The camaraderie that he has with all the other characters is really entertaining to watch, and that's very unpredictable and not knowing what's going to happen next. And I was entertained throughout the whole thing. Clint Eastwood definitely is one of my favorite directors of all time. It's crazy that the man is this old and can still make great movies like this in his old age. So Gran Torino is just an awesome movie overall. So my 17 spot is another Clint Eastwood movie, but only one that he starred in back in the 60s, and that is the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. In my opinion, the greatest Western of all time. Just watching this movie, it's epic. This You're just following these three men trying to look for a treasure. That's it. That's the plot. But the way they all go about it to try to get there first, it's very intense and very entertaining. And the last 20 minutes of the movie, just perfect. I wouldn't change a single thing. The stakes are very high. It is very intense. The music is iconic. Even if you don't know what the good, the bad, and the ugly is, you know the soundtrack from the music. It's just intense. Just this great overall atmosphere that brings forth the greatest western, in my opinion, ever made. So the good, and the bad, and the ugly is definitely an awesome movie for anyone who loves westerns and for anyone who just loves some good storytelling. So my number 16 spot is The Princess Bride. Now, this is probably one of the most quoted movies I've heard in my life. I mean, anyone that went to high school with me can confirm that Princess Bride was quoted so much. Just a lot of fun to watch. It's a simple story. It's really not that much. It's just a fairy tale about a woman who's about to become a princess, but she doesn't want to marry this prince because she's in love with another man. Very simple, but the way it's executed is very entertaining, very quotable, and you just love all of the characters. If you've seen Princess Bride, you know what I'm talking about. It's just an overall just fun and entertaining movie. So number 15 is Gladiator. Now, Gladiator is one of the best revenge movies I have ever seen. You just hate Joaquin Phoenix's character in this movie. He is one of the most despicable villains ever put on screen. And you're just cheering for Russell Crowe's character throughout the entire movie to get revenge on him. I won't go into detail about like what happened and what Russell Crowe does to get his revenge. Just know that it is very intense. It is great story. It is great storytelling. The way the movie looks, the cinematography is beautiful to look at. It's got great music, and just overall, just a great revenge story. You're just cheering for Russell Crowe's character throughout the whole thing. So Gladiator is definitely one to check out. Number 14 is Back to the Future. My opinion, one of the best movies to come out from the 1980s. Just a great script overall. Just about this boy who gets sent back in time and he meets his parents, but because he got thrown into the moment when his parents first met, his parents will end up falling in love the first time. So the whole movie is just about him making his parents fall in love with each other and to try to get back to 1985 from when he's originally from. Obviously, Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd give two of the most entertaining performances ever as Marty McFly and as Doc Brown. Just this is a lot of fun. This movie is. It's a movie that I think will appeal to most everyone. Just really good humor, really good script, really good tension. Just overall, just a fun movie. So number 13 is the most recent movie that has come out from all the movies on my list, and that is Avengers Endgame. Now, I know this movie isn't even a year old yet, and I know a lot of people are getting tired of the MCU and everything, but I'm sorry, like, Avengers Endgame is what is by far the best movie theater experience I've ever had in my life. Everything that happens in this movie is just epic, especially the third act. The third act is some of the most epic filmmaking I've ever seen in my life. But I will admit, the only way to get a lot of emotion from this movie, like I did, to really fully enjoy it to its full potential, is if you've seen all of the other MCU movies. That's the only way I could say that if you're going to get into Avengers Endgame as much as someone like me did, is if you've seen all the other MCU movies. And if you have, then you know that all the emotion, all of the tension will just gut punch you. It's just a great overall movie experience for everyone. So number 12 is another Clint Eastwood movie, and that is Million Dollar Baby, my favorite sports movie of all time, even more than Rocky. Million Dollar Baby, in my opinion, has the best father daughter like relationship ever put on film. Now, Clint Eastwood's character and Hilary Swank's character, they're not father daughter, but it really feels like that. That he cares so much for this girl that he's training to become the best woman boxer there is. It's just this great connection between these two characters. Morgan Freeman gives unforgettable performance as well. It's just it is a depressing movie. I'm not gonna lie, but it just tugs at your heartstrings so much. This movie, and it all comes from these great performances from Eastwood, from Freeman, and from Swank. I do recommend it to everyone, but just be aware that it's not a happy, cheerful movie, but it's definitely a great, heart wrenching movie that will make you cry. It made me cry. So, Million Dollar Baby is an unforgettable movie overall. Now, number 11 is that movie, the poster I'm pointing at right behind me. Yep, the original Star Wars, A New Hope. Obviously, Star Wars has changed so much as far as the way movies are made, the way the blockbusters are made, and it still holds up to this day. Just all the characters from Luke Skywalker to Han Solo to Princess Leia to Darth Vader, the best movie villain of all time. Just overall, great adventure story, great action story. What else can I say? It's Star Wars. It's one of the most popular movies of all time. So I've said enough. If you haven't seen it, it still holds up as one of the great movies of all time. And number 10 is The Shawshank Redemption. And I know it's a little cliche to put The Shawshank Redemption on your top favorite movies list. So many people have, but it's just that good. In my opinion, The Shawshank Redemption has some of the best overall directing, the best overall acting, the best overall cinematography. I mean, it's Roger Deakins. What do you expect? For those of you who know Roger Deakins' work, and it's just about this man played by Tim Robbins who survived in this prison to thrive in this prison, if you could say. And obviously, Morgan Freeman, my opinion, gives his best performance in this movie. The narration, obviously by Morgan Freeman, is I think it's this. I think this movie is the reason why Morgan Freeman has a lot of narration jobs. It's just a movie you're just cheering for the main character the whole time that things will work out okay. And I don't know what else to say about this movie. It's just great storytelling overall, great performances overall. If you haven't seen The Shawshank Redemption, I suggest you stop what you're doing right now and go watch it immediately because it is a movie that you will not forget. Coming in at number 9, we have The Truman Show, starring Jim Carrey. In my opinion, his best performance he's ever given. Now, I just love the overall originality and the overall story of The Truman Show about this man who doesn't realize that his whole life is a TV show. I won't go into more about what the story is about, but the journey he goes through as he's discovering more and more about his true world that's around him, his actual life, what it represents. It's just overall entertaining, just great storytelling, unforgettable performance again by Jim Carrey, and it's a movie that'll make you cheer tremendously for the main character. So Truman Show, this overall great, wonderful, fantastic movie. Coming in at number 8, we have a older movie that came out from the 1950s, and that is 12 Angry Men. Now, this movie takes place only in one room. It's just about 12 jury members who have to decide whether or not an 18-year-old boy is guilty of killing his father. The whole movie is just about these 12 men, about this one man, played by Henry Fonda, and him trying to persuade the other jury members that there might be some doubt about the boy being guilty of this crime. Some of the best tension I've ever seen is in this movie, and you're just invested in this movie the whole time. It's got a great script, got great moments in it, unforgettable moments in my opinion. I can't see this movie really disappointing a lot of people. If you haven't seen a black and white movie yet, I'd say definitely make this one of the first black and white movies to see. Coming in at number 7 is this movie right here, Raiders of the Lost Ark. In my opinion, the best adventure movie ever made. Got an unforgettable performance, of course, of Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, finding the lost Ark of the Covenant and figuring out why the Nazis, yes, there are Nazis in this movie, are trying to go after it as well. And it's got great moments, got iconic moments, it has funny moments, it has dramatic moments. Just definitely Steven Spielberg's best movie. And just what can I say? Raiders of the Lost Ark is awesome. Now, some of you would think that Avengers Endgame might be my favorite comic book movie. It is not. Number 6 is my favorite comic book movie, and that is The Dark Knight. Man, what this movie has done for the comic book genre is incredible. It just takes a character like Batman, makes it very realistic, and just takes it very serious. The movie is dark, but it's dark, it's entertaining, it's action packed, just a great overall movie going experience. And of course, Heath Ledger gives one of the greatest performances in movie history as the Joker. It's crazy how good he is in this movie. I mean, everyone knows how crazy good Heath Ledger is in the movie, but he still shocks and surprises me every time I go back to watch this movie. It has influenced comic book movies up to this day, and just overall, just The Dark Knight is awesome. Coming in at number 5 is another mom movie directed by the same guy who did The Departed, and that is Goodfellas. Goodfellas is overall just so entertaining. Great performances, especially from Joe Pesci. It depicts the mob as these, like, what they truly are. They're scumbags. And I'm glad that this movie portrays them as scumbags to show that this life is definitely not a good life at all. But these guys don't care. They're just happy that they have this high power and they have this much money to be living this way. Now, obviously, it's not a movie for everyone, obviously, but if you really enjoy mom movies, in my opinion, Goodfellas is the best mom movie ever made. I just don't know what else to say about it. Just Goodfellas is just so entertaining, great, fantastic, one of the best movies of all time, in my opinion. Coming in at number 4 is The Green Mile. Very similar to The Shawshank Redemption. They're both based on books written by Stephen King, and they're both have the same director, which is Frank Darabont. But The Green Mile, personally, impacts me more emotionally. Tom Hanks gives a great performance, and Michael Clark Duncan, my goodness, probably my top 5 favorite performances of all time. He is so good as this inmate, as John Coffey. This movie is over 3 hours long, and I know that's a problem for some people, and it is a slow moving movie, but just so much emotion, so much passion was put into this movie. It's definitely going to make a lot of people cry. This movie will. Just, I don't know what else to say. The Green Mile is one of the reasons why I love movies so much. Just the overall emotion, storytelling that comes from this movie just hits me right at home. So, Green Mile is definitely worth the number 4 spot, in my opinion. Coming in at number 3, in my opinion, is the greatest family movie ever made, and that is It's a Wonderful Life. Also, the greatest Christmas movie of all time. This movie has great, just fantastic storytelling. Just I can't think of a single flaw in this movie. It's perfect. Jimmy Stewart, in my opinion, best performance of all time as George Bailey. Jimmy Stewart is probably top 5 favorite actors of all time for me, but he just gives an unforgettable performance. And this movie appeals to everyone, in my opinion. If there's anyone out there that were to ask me what's the perfect family movie, like which family movie I would recommend to everyone, that movie is It's a Wonderful Life. Just overall great, fantastic movie that appeals to everyone. Now, coming in at number 2 is the movie which I have the poster that is right behind me. Empire Strikes Back. The best sequel ever made. What Empire Strikes Back did was take what they did in Star Wars to the next level, continue the story in such a great way, develop these characters even more, make the stakes even higher. Just, man, this movie just has so much good stuff in it. From Luke being trained on Dagobah by Yoda, Lando Calrissian being introduced in the movie, fantastic character. All the interactions are better in this movie than I think they were in A New Hope. The greatest movie reveal of all time. It probably is the most well-known movie reveal of all time. It's still a great reveal the way they presented it, and I couldn't imagine people back in 1980 when this movie came out discovering that reveal. Just, oh, this movie, it's so good. Empire Strikes Back is this movie magic, in my opinion. Definitely worth the number 2 spot. Now, before I get to number 1, I want to have a few honorable mentions. So my honorable mentions include Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, Psycho, Castaway, Thor Ragnarok, Hacksaw Ridge, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, The Fugitive, To Kill a Mockingbird, and 1917. And with that out of the way, let's get to number 1. Now, for my number 1 spot, I knew what was going to be my number 1 choice, but I kind of cheated here. It's not one movie, but it's 3 movies. 3 movies that have impacted me more than any other piece of media that's out there. The one that will stick with me for the rest of my life, that I'll never get tired of for the rest of my life. I'm pretty sure most of you already know what it is. It's the one, the only, Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is my number 1 choice. Just this movie has everything that I love, from storytelling to cinematography to performances. My favorite fantasy world that's ever been brought to screen. Just so much about Lord of the Rings that I personally love. One of the greatest achievements in film history, in my opinion. Just the way that Peter Jackson was able to film these 3 movies back to back. Like, I don't know if most people know this, but he filmed the 3 Lord of the Rings movies simultaneously. Like, one day he might film a part of Two Towers, and then the other day he might film a part of Return of the King. Like, he did all of it at once, which is insane. But man, did it pay off. These were big hits at the box office, big hits at the Oscars, with Return of the King winning 11 Oscars, including Best Picture, the most Oscar wins out of any movie in history. I love it. So many other people love it. I'm going to watch it so many times in the future, and I'll always recommend Lord of the Rings to everyone, even those who don't like long movies, because they are long. Overall, great movie going experience. So Lord of the Rings trilogy is definitely my number 1 spot. So there you go, guys. Those are my top 25 favorite movies of all time. Thank you so much for tuning into this list. Keep looking out for more videos that will be coming from me, whether that's movie reviews or top lists that I will be making in the future. If you like what you see here, go ahead and subscribe, because Porter Williams Movie Reviews might change your point of view.